As we are working with sellers, there's a couple of things that I want to make sure you guys keep in mind for best practices. Make sure our real estate is not just local, it's hyper local. So you're going to want to make sure that you are staying up to date on the specifics of the market, not just in the city or in the zip code, but specifically in your client's neighborhood so that you can future pace them as you're working through the transaction. Know the days on market, know what things are, what the list to sale price ratio is, know how, know everything about the market so that you can help future pace them and guide them through what to expect. A lot of times people will be in their home for a couple of years. And so maybe they bought a home, 5 or 7 years ago, and this is the first time they're selling. So they're really going to be looking to you as the neighborhood expert, the local expert, so that you can help guide them through what to expect, not just the contracts, not just negotiation, but also really how can they set themselves up for success. So as you are working through this process, a couple of things to keep in mind. So let's say you've had your appointment, your listing consultation. Plan to schedule those professional photos prior to going live. What I see with most photo companies is if you schedule photos, you're usually looking at like 2 or 3 days out at least to schedule. And then you need a day to get the photos back because they're not only going to take photos, but they're also going to edit photos. So you're going to have the time to schedule the photo appointment, have the photos taken, get the photos back, and you really want those professional photos to be in the MLS when you go active. Ideally, even if it's delayed, you'd like the professional photos to be in there. Maybe you just have a couple pictures to kind of pique people's interests if you are going into that delayed status. But realistically, professional photos prior to going active is tops. Always professional photos as well. We're not doing cell phone photos for our listings. Order your sign ahead of time so that the sign will be ready on the day that you go active. That is helpful for that is going to be really helpful for agents who are showing the home to be able to find it on the street, because sometimes you navigate there with GPS, but just to be able to know that you're at the right property is huge. Choose your showing service. So are you going to be using Align Showings or Showing Time? Right now in our office, you do have a choice. The office pays for showing time for you. And Align Showings is the MLS product that is included. So there's pros and cons to both. It's good to have a conversation and kind of figure out which one do you feel more comfortable with for showings. I think the great thing about Showing Time is it has a great client-facing portal, so that you can have, there's an app clients can see all of their showings that are coming up for the day in that app, and that's huge. Aligned Showings is convenient, so there is a button in MLS, so that's easy for scheduling showings. So there's some pros and cons to both, but both are options for you. Both are included. You're also going to want to think about how you're going to get a key from the sellers. How are people going to access the home, and have your lockbox ready to go. So you just want to be really ready for that listing to go active before it goes live, with the professional photos. Have a sign in the yard. Have showing services set up. Have a key at the house as well. And then a couple common questions that you're going to run into in our market, and you're going to run into these usually at the listing appointment, but sometimes afterwards. People will ask about how to handle commissions. So this is going to be a common objection, but also going to be a common question. People are maybe used to one number, but there have been some changes in the market in the last few years and how commissions are laid out in contracts. So we want to make sure that we're being clear, crystal clear, about how much you get paid, how much are we offering commission to a buyer's agent, pros and cons of different commission versus compensation. Do we want someone to write it into the offer? And so some different things to know about that. Length of the contract. There is not one set time frame for length of the contract. So you could do a listing contract that is good for a month. You could do 2 months. You could do 3 months. Typically, I do 6. I know that the house should be sold before then, but there is not one right way to do things. Buyers are going to want to, or sellers are going to want to know how showings work. So letting them know that you're not going to be there with the agent and the buyer on every showing. Sometimes people don't know that. So they don't realize that the buyers have an agent and that you are communicating and marketing and scheduling, but you're not necessarily there at each showing. So make sure that your sellers understand how showings work, that they will be notified of showings coming up. You're going to get feedback to them after showings as well. Will you host, who will host open houses? Will there be open houses? Open houses are going to be up to you and the seller. If you think it's going to be part of your marketing plan, I would encourage you to host some open houses, but maybe there's a day that doesn't work for you and another agent will host for you. That's perfect. Who shows the house? So that's the question is, buyer's agent is going to show it. How do I find out about showings? So letting them know future pacing. Are they going to get a text? Are you going to communicate with them? Is there that app if they're using Showing Time? What is going to be the best thing? What happens after accepted offer? So let them know that you've got them covered. You're going to future pace them. Some of our common timelines and contingencies are that earnest money, home inspection, appraisal, buyer's final walkthrough, and then closing day itself. They sometimes will have what if questions. So what if I have pets? What if I can't leave for showings? What if I work from home? Best practice is that the home is available for buyers to have a private showing. Pets ideally are not there. Cats usually are fine, but if it's a dog, best practice is to take the dog out of the house. If the dog has to be crated, that's fine, but I always future pace people that sometimes buyers are uncomfortable with the idea of walking into a home, even if there's a dog in the home. So just future pacing them that like pets need to be contained. Ideally, they're out of the house, especially if it's a dog. What if I can't leave for showings? It's not ideal, but I have had seller clients who, are disabled or for some reason can't leave for showings. It's not ideal, but if that's their situation, it's not a requirement that they leave for showings. It just makes it more comfortable usually for everyone. But if the seller has to be home for showings, I would just advise them to give space to the other parties that are there, and not hover. Make them feel comfortable. What if I work from home? I always would talk to my seller clients about, what are some options? Is there a day you can work from the office? Is there a day you can work from the coffee shop? Are we maybe going to start showings in the evening on a Friday and run them through the weekend so that way their work day is less interrupted? You can set up blocks where showings are not allowed. So if your client has young children or works from home, or has pets and they know they can't take pets out at a certain time, maybe they want to block off some different times. So those are some things that are common questions, commonly come up. You're going to run into so many different things and unique scenarios as you go through your career. You'll add things to this, but just know that these are some of the most common questions that sellers have. Just how does this all work? What should I expect? What should I know how to do? And your job is to help future pace them. So if you have questions that are not part of this list, or you want to talk more in depth about any of these, let's set up a time to talk one-on-one, or during one of our upcoming classes, ask those questions and we will run through them too, just to future pace you so that you can help future pace your client.